On the panel shows down the track program today, we've come out to Western Sydney to visit APL Performance Bikes. Now this is two-wheel horsepower heaven. We've got custom bikes. We've got a workshop down here that does incredible stuff on the street bikes. Performance area, man, this is a climate controlled dyno. That's where you maximize your horsepower. But what it's about today, top fuel bike. We're talking Adam Layton's Gulf Western Oils Yuasa Batteries V-Twin. Today we're going to find out all about the bike and all about Adam Layton. Adam, welcome to the panel shows down the track. You're fairly new to the whole area of top fuel drag bike racing, but let's look back. Where did you start on two wheels?
Well, I started two wheels as a kid at 5, racing around in the paddocks, and then obviously developed into racing motocross and supercross till probably 17, 18, and went into becoming a motorcycle technician. And yeah, I always lived, breathed motorcycle racing. It's not part of my family, it's just something I chose to do. And it's probably the closest thing to riding this thing. It's like a bull, so yeah.
The supercross world is really high profile these days. What sort of career did you have there?
I raced in supercross and motocross at a race team level, and then I actually started found my way building fast bikes and developing the bikes, and found my way working for Chad Reed, and yeah, sending him off overseas. And yeah, it was exciting. It was exciting racing them bikes. They're explosive as well.
So behind the scenes, you've always been about extracting that last bit of horsepower though?
Yeah, I've always been about trying to build the fastest motor, or have the best part, or have the fastest bike.
Is that how APL came about?
Yeah, APL, I started the name when I was 17. It's just my initials, and it's something that's known and synonymous all over the world now for racing.
Okay, so you've had a career in motocross leading through to supercross, and then you got really onto the spanners. Where did your racing career take you next?
I always had a passion. Two things was to go on. My dad used to take me to Speedway, and I had to drive the world's most powerful power-to-weight race cars, and that's a sprint car.
So did you step straight into sprinters?
I started in midgets and the speed cars, and they are violent little machines. They're not in second place to sprint car. And then I did 2 or 3 years on midgets, and then went straight into sprint cars and did another 7 years of sprint car racing all around Australia.
There's a big contrast there really, because the sprinters with the big wings, etc., compared
Yep.
to the midgets, wingless.
Yep.
From a driver's perspective, which was more fun?
The sprint cars were supported better at the tracks, but every speedway person knows, and that's like Tony Stewart, Casey Kane, the big event they chase is the Chili Bowl on a speed car, and you can go and ask one of them guys, or even myself, and I'll always say the speed car's the most violent little steroid little car you'd ever want to get into.
So in this period you've raced, bikes, cars, supercross, speedway.
Yeah.
Were you still keeping an eye on what was happening in drag racing?
I'd gone to the drags in 1990, and I seen a Top Fuel Harley run. I think it was Cowell at LA Cycles bike, or maybe Chris Porter. These guys have been doing it a long time, and I just knew one day I'd have to work towards that and find the bike. And yeah, I'm glad I'm doing it at this age, because it's something I wouldn't have wanted to be doing when I'm 18 or 20. These are very scary, and everything has to be right.
And you've been 10 metres in the air going across jumps at speed, etc., and you've got to land yet.
Yep.
But these things, as you say, they're probably scarier, aren't they?
Yeah, it's one of them things that if you didn't own it, you wouldn't ride it. And if you didn't own the bike, you wouldn't get on it.
So was the fuel bike your first drag racing bike?
Yeah, I'm apparently the first guy in the world to jump on a fuel bike and never race any drag bike. So Yeah, that's pretty scary.
I guess your licensing and learning period, you took things fairly steadily. You didn't try and rotate the earth instantly.
Yeah.
How would you describe that experience?
It's frustrating because this bike, you can't do a soft launch. It's only designed to do a 7-second, a 6-second, or one day a 5, and you can't set it up for an 8. It won't do it, and it's actually, every time I hit that throttle, I'm hoping that I've got as much power as I can get now, because that feels better.
If you try and back these off, they literally stop running. They normally stop burning the fuel, don't they?
Yeah, they over fuel, and they come down really hard, and on a Harley, the motor starts wanting to go backwards and they want to push the head off. And I'm laying over that head, so I don't want that to happen.
From a riding style, I've had it described to me as not like any road bike, not like any other motorcycle. It's really a case of almost sidecarring the bikes.
Yeah, that's true. It's the hardest thing is you can't lean them, and all your road bike experiences mean nothing, and this is only a motorbike till the start line, and once you sit on it, you're driving a front-wheel drive motorcycle, and that takes a lot. Your reaction, if the wall comes up, is to move. Well, that's not the reaction you want to turn that bike. So yeah, that's the hardest thing, and I still fight it, trying to discipline myself, and I even don't like riding road bikes because it just confuses what I'm doing here.
We see these bikes carry the front wheel, as you say. They're virtually a unicycle from the start line on. So it's all about that body language, is it?
Yeah, it's getting the weight right and making sure they land those wheelie bars straight. We drive on those wheelie bars, and that's what keeps us straight. And we use the outside foot and tilt the head or pull our heads out with the bike straight, and that's how we turn them with the power on.
It's fair to say that unlike pro bike, most of the top fuel bike riders aren't jockeys. They're big boys.
Yeah.
And Chris Matheson, Chris Porter, etc., a lot of the guys.
Yep.
Does that weight actually help them on the bike?
It doesn't affect the nitros. We've got so much available power, like 1,000+ horsepower, and some of like the likes of Chris Matheson's would be around the 1,800 horsepower, and now they're talking more than that in the States, and yeah, it's crazy. So a couple kilos there, we can have some macas on the way to racing.
And it probably helps with that body language when you're trying to get the bike to move.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't want to be a light jockey on this bike. When I first started riding it, it come out of my hands a couple of times and I thought it was all over. And when I was talking to Mark Drew yesterday, and that guy's a machine on a bike, he said the same thing. He goes, I thought I was going to lose it, just let go of it. They're just too powerful, and the strength you need in your hands and the readiness, it takes a toll on your body. It compresses your body. You feel them. You're feeling that bike, and when a pro stock guy sits on on my bike, it's like they need a hip replacement. It just puts your hips out, and they can't believe how big the bikes really are.
You're not convincing me I want to ride this thing.
Yeah, I know. No, you know what? I say to people that you don't need to be a champion road racer. Good motocross rider or some dirt skills would be good.
Bronco rider.
Or bronco rider. But if you can understand that back tyre, that's what you need to know. And I welcome anyone that wants to have a go on top fuel motorcycle, especially some of these car guys, because they come up and they take an interest, and we're riding a wild bike, wild machines.
Well, you know, we throw back, you had time with Chad Reed, so you've seen the level of professionalism in that sport. You're bringing a lot of that to drag racing is what we see.
Yep.
What you've done here with the APL team, with backing from Gulf Western and USA batteries, etc.
Yep.
You're getting a bit of corporate interest into top bikes where it traditionally hasn't been.
Yeah, it's I suppose the guys have been focused on their racing and their competitiveness, and in my business, APL has to market, and we have John in marketing, and we have to market. And I just sort of thought, geez, I've got to get this sport recognised. I know everyone loves it and loves seeing it, but we need to put it out there more because, and it's not an easy sport. That's the hard thing. It's not that easy, as you know.
So you've got involved from the Top Bike Association point of view as well?
Yeah, I'm like trying to help promote Top Fuel Bike. Mainly the Chris Matheson and Chris Porter and Mark Drew. We're going to get together and start putting in and think about our sport, and you know, the under 400 side of it's, you know, to have someone to come to and, you know, pick out or find, you know, what these guys want to do. Some guys want to sign autographs, some guys want this, some guys are looking for sponsors. Well, I'm hoping to help out with that and distribute that around the guys.
Australia's a little bit unique compared to, say, Europe, where the V-twin scene is huge and they run separate V-twin category. Yep. Here in Australia we've got Top Fuel bikes, so we've got 4-cylinder supercharged nitro burners like Chris
Yep.
Matheson's. We've got the V-twins, which are always popular.
Yep.
But we can also have nitrous bikes, turbo
Yep.
bikes like Blaze Hansen is,
Yep.
is looking to get on track in Top Fuel bike shortly.
Oh, good.
Do you think that variety is good?
I think it's good, and it's the guys always want to be in the, we'll call it the premier top division, and you know, people like the bangs and crackles of the Top Fuel for sure, but those guys are holding their own. But I'll tell you now, Top Fuel bike, we're all going to start pushing it, and these motors and their fuel systems and the clutches, you know, it's going to start moving really quick in the next year or two in speed and power.
The fuel crowds in drag racing tend to congregate around the start line. They love the burnout and everything, but being a fan of Top Fuel bike, I would suggest that somewhere down 1,000 foot, you know, around the 300 metre mark on the drag strip, best place to watch when you guys are carrying that front wheel through there at 300, 350 kilometres an hour.
Yep.
What's that feeling like when you're just hanging that front wheel in the air at those sort of speeds?
This might sound corny, but sometimes you think you're Superman because you're laying down and your arms are out and the air's underneath you and it's all light. You feel light and you're going fast, and yeah, it's amazing. It's a drug. It's a drug, Top Fuel bike.
So the future for the category in Australia, we see, as I say, there's a few competitors sniffing around looking to get involved, but those core races that you talked about, you're probably the heart and soul of it at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, on the East Coast, and Mark Drew's made a big effort to come out and commit to this year and next year, and hopefully some of the guys, and that's why I try and help out APL Performance, give them a base in Sydney, and we all seem to help each other out in a little way, and you know, we've all got expertise, or we got things, resources, all of us to help each other out, and come race day or come when it gets to that line, there's no help, but you're on your own. But leading up, good bunch of guys.
Well, yeah, we see Mark Drew in the workshop today getting his bike ready for some testing and the coming event at Sydney Dragway. The international effect now with the visitors across, you're getting assistance from the US?
Yeah, like I get assistance off Bob Malloy, who's run some records in America, and he also runs Bonafini clutches, which make all the Top Fuel car and bike, they lead the world in clutch technology, and that's where I found I'm moving forward to get the most amount of fuel in, because the more nitro I get in, the more power, and I need a clutch to hold it. Yeah, it's good.
And of course Mark's got Jaska over here, a fairly colourful Finn.
Yeah, Jaska's been here for a couple of weeks, and he's leading the way in the world with the fuel system. He's developed a new fuel system, and I've just heard Mark's bike go in testing and startups, and when you hear those crackles and those really sharp bangs, and yeah, you know that thing's going to make some power. So Mark's a good candidate to just get to test his fuel system on the Harley. Well, it's not actually testing, it's going to work. I can see it working.
Well, Jaska's quickest in the world with a 601, so
Yep.
if he brings that technology across into Mark's bike,
Yep.
when we saw him on a 6.5 at Willowbank, and it was a fairly soft pass, so
Yeah.
there's probably going to be some pretty good sort of performances in the near future.
Well, Jaska just took a guess, you know, 3 days before on what fuel to put in Mark's bike and a soft clutch, like, but they're ramping it up now, and I'm excited. I'm excited. I hope I'm only get to meet Mark in the final, but because I know what, you know, could happen. There's a good chance, you know, his experience and that bike, yeah, it's going to show up.
Well, in Top Fuel drag bike racing, we've been talking about a 5-second pass for a while in Australia. It's happened in the US.
Yep.
It's happened overseas. Will we see it in Australia this season?
Oh, I reckon there's definitely a chance if the tracks allow it. Like the tracks are good and the timing's right. There's definitely 2 or 3 guys in Australia that could do that 5-second pass, which would just be amazing. And I know Jaska's over there planning it. So let's hope Sydney.
So your goal here is get more experience on the bike and then just keep stepping it up.
Yeah, I'm at a point where I've got running a 650 tune. I can shut off a half throttle and do a half track and do a 7-second pass. That's how easy it is. Yeah, no, I've got the gear in there to start staying with them or doing something better.
Well, let's hope we see some really nice 650s and maybe a few win lights coming up for
Yeah.
Layton and the Gulf Western team.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so pumped, I tell you.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks very much for having me.